Good evening. I'm Catherine Farina, the Director of Administration for the City of North Canton, and I want to welcome everybody this evening to our Community Public Forum Town Hall meeting on the city's electric aggregation program. And with us tonight, we have a representative here from NOPEC, Tony Ramos. He will be speaking, along with Mayor Wilder and Administrative Assistant Jennifer Ross. Thank you, everybody that came out tonight, and I will turn it over to Tony. Or Mayor, whoever's starting. I can start this off. Thank you, Catherine.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight as we're going to talk about some recent updates to the city's electric aggregation program. We are moving into a new program term with our new supplier, NOPEC, so we're going to kind of go over some key points on that, a few frequently asked questions that we've gotten in our office. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll open the floor to any questions that the audience might have that we could help answer for you. As Catherine mentioned, my name is Jennifer Ross. I'm an administrative specialist with the city. So I'm happy to lead this off tonight as we kind of go over what these changes mean for the community and what you should be on the lookout for. For starters, I'd kind of like to discuss a little bit of what our aggregation programs are kind of designed to do. In essence, they aim to secure more favorable energy rates and more stable energy rates for our community through group purchasing power. So by coming together as a community and leveraging that group purchasing power, the idea is that we should be able to achieve better rates for better terms than any one person might be able to find on their own. The programs also look to provide a more straightforward energy supply option for our community. You don't have to shop around in the energy market, which can be somewhat complicated and confusing. We have no early termination fees, and when our contracts come up, our members are notified via letter so that they can be aware and they can start planning for their next steps, whether that's continuing with the city's program or maybe choosing another option that works better for them. Now, the city's aggregation programs for gas and electricity are separate. We do have two programs. You can participate in either or neither. It's entirely up to the residents what option works best for them. Like we said, we're going to be focusing on our electric aggregation program tonight. And that program, our North Canton residents voted to establish in November of 2015 to give us the right to go out and negotiate these contracts as an option for the community. Our electric aggregation program is an opt-out program, which basically means that eligible customers only have to take action if they don't want to participate. So it helps kind of streamline and simplify that enrollment process for them. Now, as I mentioned, that we don't have any early termination fees and you can opt out of the programs at any time. But bottom line, what we try to communicate the most is that these programs are entirely optional. We encourage the community to go out and look at your options and see what will work best for your household, whether that's the city's program or another opportunity that you might find. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are transitioning to a new contract for our electric aggregation program over the next couple of months. Our current electric aggregation contract with Energy Harbor expires today. So, over the last couple of weeks, if you were already in our electric aggregation program, or if you are newly eligible, you should have received a NOPEC opt-out letter in the mail. And that would kind of detail the different program options and what you should expect moving forward. If you do choose to move forward with the city's program, you will be temporarily switched to AEP's standard service offer rate, SSO rate. That's just because we're transitioning from one contract to the next, so it's kind of an in-between. And that rate is going to be 8.14 cents per kilowatt hour for just the May 2025 meter read, before you then roll into our new program rate effective for the June meter read. As we mentioned earlier, the city has joined the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, or NOPEC, as our new electric aggregation program supplier in association with the Next Era. So if you see either of those two names on your bill, that's what that means. They are our new suppliers. We're going to have a fixed rate of 8.929 cents per kilowatt hour for 6 months That's effective from the June through the December 2025 meter reads. Before I get kind of into the details of the different options available to us, I'd like to bring Tony up to talk a little bit.
Oh, sure. May I ask a question? It says that Energy Harbor expires May 1st. Perhaps I misunderstood. I thought we were good until May 31st.
So when I say that program expires May 1st, in essence, the May meter read is the one that's going to be on that standard service offer rate. That is what that transition essentially means. So the Energy Harbor rate ended at the end of this month. That's why those letters went out over the last couple of weeks to let people know that this was coming and that you would be transitioned onto AEP's standard service offer rate for at least the May meter read, if that makes sense, and that's going to cover your month of May. The new rate would take effect June 2025.
Okay, got it. I got that. But then when I look at our website, your North Canton website, it said that we would get 2 letters, one from NOPEC and another one from AEP. We never got the one from nobody.
We've heard that kind of conflicting reports on that. I know at City Hall actually received one of those AEP letters that says your service ends effective, May 1st on the Energy Harbor rate. The NOPEC letter is the most important letter to have received. That is the one that lets you know that you're on NOPEC's radar to be either that you're already participating in the program or that you'll be automatically enrolled into the new one, whether you're newly eligible or whether it's something you've been doing for a while.
So for 1 month, we'll be on 8.14, and then after that, after May, we'll be on the 8.929.
Correct, yes. So that 8.14 cents per kilowatt hour rate is just for the month of May, that AEP SSO. That's their default rate that they offer, and that's just because we're transitioning from our old Energy Harbor contract to our new contract with NOPEC. And we'll have more on the kind of the details behind those rates and why those numbers look a little higher than you might like a little later in the presentation for sure.
Now, is AEP's Ohio standard service rate, is that different than the price to compare?
So I believe the AEP standard service offer rate is the price to compare on your bill. That should be the same thing. But the reason it may look different is that this rate is variable on as much as a monthly basis. So the May rate may not be the same as the April rate. That's why these programs kind of exist. Variable rates can create a lot of uncertainty for customers just because they're not sure what the next month might hold in terms of their energy bill. So that's why in terms of our aggregation program, we try to seek out fixed rates for set periods of time so that people can kind of plan and budget for their household to be able to say, this is our rate for this set period of time to know what to expect.
So when I look at apples to apples and it shows the AEP price to compare, it is 732 through May 31st. So that rate is higher for a month than the price to compare.
If you'd like to jump in, the 8.14 cents per kilowatt hour rate was the rate that we were given. Tony, if you'd like to give some more detail on that.
Yeah, so sometimes we were actually discussing this in our office today because we are, most of our employees live a little bit north of you, and we are First Energy, so either Ohio Edison or the Illuminating Company. And your question is timely because, I'm just getting to it in Teams. I have a different price to compare on my bill than Kyla does at her home in Lake County, and I'm in Portage County. If I were to look at all of your bills, every PTC on each bill is going to be different. What's currently published on Apples to Apples, I cannot speak to because we do not maintain that website. But this is the information that has been provided to the city by AEP for this customer base, if that makes sense. So kind of just think more local in terms of North Canton and not necessarily all of AEP's service territory.
Okay.
And I'll just use a further example. One of my colleagues, their PTC was 769, mine was 784. We had a couple others. So it varies from household to household and essentially service territory. If that makes sense.
And that's kind of what makes these programs so much more helpful, is that with all that variation, it can be challenging to figure out what the best option is for your household, for your community. So anytime that you can lock in a fixed rate for any period of time, that can help you in your planning process in terms of what to expect budget-wise.
Thank you.
I appreciate the attention, Tony. If we're good to go, I can turn things over to Tony for a little bit.
Don't leave, just stay up there with
Yeah, he's going to talk to us a little bit about aggregation, about what NOPEC is, and what they do for their member communities like us to kind of help us get a better value on our energy supply rates. So we've got a video to show us. I'm going to go work some tech magic, and Tony, I'll leave it to you.
Excellent. So, did everybody in this room get a letter that looked like that? Excellent. So that is your, that's the enrollment letter. And what I'm going to do now is I have a brief video that will kind of take you through the steps of who NOPEC is, what we do, and kind of why having an aggregation program in your community is beneficial. This will answer all of your questions. You won't have any more after this video, and we'll all go on our way. But after that, after we play that, then I'm gonna go through the materials that you got, and then answer some questions, and then we'll just kind of play it by ear with the city because they've got some additional slides too.
NOPEC is an electric and natural gas aggregation that serves over 240 Ohio communities. We use the buying power of such a large group to secure competitive energy rates and other benefits for our customers. NOPEC is different from for-profit energy suppliers. We are a member-driven council of governments governed by the local community leaders that choose to join NOPEC. This video will tell you a bit more about energy aggregation and why your community chose to join NOPEC. Over 20 years ago, Ohio deregulated its energy market to encourage competition and give energy consumers more choice in who supplies their energy. Because of this, your energy supplier and utility company can be two separate entities. The energy supplier secures the energy you use and negotiates the rate you pay for that energy. The utility company is responsible for transmission and distribution. This means they deliver energy to your home, manage the pipes and wires, and send you your bill. Your utility company is assigned by where you live, but you can choose from over 100 energy suppliers certified to do business in Ohio. While energy choice has provided competition in the energy market, it can be confusing. Some for-profit energy suppliers even use predatory sales tactics that take advantage of Ohio consumers. Many communities choose to join an energy aggregation to make it easier for residents, protect them from risky offers, and secure competitive rates. If your community is a member of NOPEC, your elected officials chose NOPEC as a supplier for your voter-approved aggregation program. Residents and small businesses eligible to participate in the aggregation program receive enrollment letters. The enrollment letter outlines your community's aggregation program, the standard program rate, and other options available to you. NOPEC gives you the flexibility to choose additional rate options at any time. NOPEC never charges additional fees to switch rate plans. The standard program option is the default program. Other options include a monthly variable rate, 12 and 24-month fixed rates, and even electric programs that include 100% renewable energy content. If you choose to remain in the standard program, no action is needed. This makes it easy and convenient to take advantage of the benefits of your community's aggregation program. You can view all rate options on our website or by calling our customer care center. To enroll in any of these rate options, you must call the customer care center. There are representatives available 24/7 to take your call and answer any questions you may have. If you decide not to participate in your community's aggregation program, you can opt out by returning the opt-out form enclosed within your enrollment letter. For additional information, visit nopec.org, call our 24/7 customer care center at 855-667-3201, or email info@nopec.org.
Excellent. All of your questions have been answered. One of the things I'll highlight that makes us different than other energy aggregators, like the video mentioned, is we're a council of governments. And so what that adds is a different layer of protection for you as a resident, because your community is active in how we operate. So each county in NOPEC service territory has an elected official that sits on our board of directors. They serve without compensation. It's a volunteer position, but elected leaders are responsible for how we operate. Here in Stark County, the Director of Economic Development from the City of Alliance, Peter Worsler, is your county board representative. So that's one way that kind of separates NOPEC from other for-profit energy suppliers. Another thing that makes us different is we also provide a lot of additional resources and benefits to your community aside from negotiating competitive electric rates. One of the things we do is with our supply partner NextEra, we negotiate additional funds from them, and we return those funds to our member communities in the form of energy efficiency grants. And so those funds are made available to mayor and council to do a variety of different things. We also have what we call a community event sponsorship program. We make funds available for cities if you do concerts in the park or 4th of July fireworks, those kinds of things. We also spend a lot of time in Columbus and Washington, D.C. advocating on our customers' behalf and sometimes fighting against additional fees that the utilities want on your bill. So when you look at your bill, and if you all grabbed how to read your energy bill, you know, looking at your electric bill, there's a lot of other charges listed on your bill, and sometimes you scratch your head and go, why am I paying for this, or why am I paying for that? Every time the utility goes to the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio and says, we need more money for X, NOPEC is also at the table saying, we don't think they need that money or that much money. And more often than not, we have been successful in helping kind of keep those fees to a minimum on your bills. So out on the table, one of the things that was out there was the general FAQs for NOPEC. And for those of you who aren't here in person, you can go online to nopec.org and see the frequently asked questions about NOPEC, how we operate, and the electric program. The brochure you got is just a quick who we are and what we do. One of the resources that you got was how to read your bill, and the other was how to compare energy offers. Another benefit of NOPEC is we are a service-driven organization. All we want is what's best for your community and you as an individual resident in that community. You mentioned apples to apples earlier. NOPEC never ever claims to be the cheapest price. We cannot make that claim. But what we do claim, though, is if you go on to apples and you take the more than 100 other energy suppliers that operate in the state of Ohio, you average all those numbers, NOPEC is consistently in the bottom third of all of those rate offerings. One of the things that you also have to be careful when you go on apples to apples, and people say, Tony, I found a rate lower than yours. And I go, of course you did, but is there an additional monthly fee? We find customers that have a lower rate than ours, but then they pay an additional $20 a month fee. We do not charge monthly fees for your service. Where there's $100 or more cancellation fee to get out of those contracts if you want to get out of them early. So you always just want to be careful about as you shop, what are the terms and conditions and associated fees? The nice thing about participating in your community's aggregation program is you kind of don't have to worry about a lot of those things. And so that's what that comparing energy rates guides are, and then the other resource on how to read your electric bill. I always note, we're only one small portion of your overall bill, and that's the supply portion. So we're just negotiating on your behalf for that unit cost that you when you use your electricity. All those other fees still come from the utility. You do not get a separate bill from NOPEC. We just show up on your existing bill that will continue to come from your utility. Now the other question, burning question you likely have is well, the city used to have a lower rate with their previous aggregator. And while you see nice and shiny NOPEC people, why on earth would they pick you when your rate is higher? The other sheet you have is something that explains why energy rates are increasing in Ohio. Whether the city had stayed with their previous aggregator or decided to select NOPEC, your electric rates were going to go up no matter what. The rates that you all were benefiting from, we always like to refer to them as legacy rates. They were rates from years ago that you got to benefit from and enjoy. In many respects, you're now kind of catching up to where other residents in the state are. But I'm going to go back a little bit. Our state is served by PJM. That is our grid operator. They serve 12 other states, including the state of Ohio. They're the people responsible for ensuring that at any given moment, there's enough electricity on the system so that if you go into your kitchen and flip the light switch, that switch comes on, but that also any small business or manufacturer, at that same moment, they still have enough electricity to do the business that they are engaged in. In recent years, due to the retirement of coal plants and increased demand on our electrical systems, they conducted what's called a capacity auction. They conducted it last June. Prior to last June of 2024, when they did these auctions, and it's measured in a megawatt day. I won't get too boring, you'll start to doze. But it's measured in a megawatt day, and those prices were below $30 a megawatt day. Seems like a reasonable number. Last year, when they conducted this auction in June, those prices surged to almost $240 a megawatt day. That's an 800% increase. That is meant to incentivize power producers to generate more electricity. But as you can imagine, it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to build a new power plant. So we've reduced the number of power plants that have been generating electricity, and the existing power plants, as you can imagine, have a ceiling on how much they can produce based on their current size and output. So as a result of that, anytime somebody else's costs go up, what happens to us, the consumer? That cost gets passed on to us. So our bills aren't going up by 800%. What we're going to see is a 10 to 15% increase on average, about 2 cents a kilowatt hour. So if you're a current NOPEC customer in another community, our current rate is 6.49 cents a kilowatt hour for the standard program rate. Starting in June, it's going to 8.9. So that's kind of where we're moving. But compared to our competitors, we have some competitors who are about 9 cents, 10 cents, and et cetera. So I try to always explain it to people this way. The tide is rising. All the boats are going up. It's just a matter of varying degrees in terms of what ship you're on, in terms of how high you're going to go up. So I would say, don't blame your local officials. They went through a very thorough process in terms of assessing not only NOPEC, but a variety of other energy aggregators. And they had to make a decision because, these are always time-sensitive things. So what you recently got earlier this year is your enrollment letter. We're required to send you that every 3 years as a state requirement. If you didn't opt out, you're going to automatically get pulled into the aggregation program. There's a due date on there. You have to opt out by this date. A benefit of NOPEC is in 6 months, if you think back fondly on tonight and go, I just didn't like Tony, I want to get out of NOPEC, you can still call that opt out without any fees. And then if you decide to come back 6 months later, you just call us and you can come back. So the nice thing is you can enter and exit the program at your choosing. The video mentioned other pricing options. I encourage you, if stability is important to you, we offer 12 and 24 month fixed pricing. I don't wait on those because those are ticking up too. So you just want to be mindful of those rates. Right now, if you go online, the variable rate looks very attractive. That's going to change in June. I'm not recommending anybody take advantage of the variable rate.
Tony,
Yes,
is the key word variable?
I'm just about to get to, because I think you're going to ask a question about maybe the standard program rate. So the standard program rate that was outlined in your letter is 8.9 cents a kilowatt hour from June to December. It's being held for a 6-month block. NOPEC in recent years have been holding our standard program rate in 6-month increments to provide our customers more stability. However, technically, that standard program rate is what we call a market following rate. That's a fancy way for me to avoid using the word variable, because variable, that word just bothers people. So I say market following, but since we're all on the same page now, it's a variable rate. But we've been holding it for 6-month blocks, and I anticipate that policy will continue. So when December rolls around and we set our price for January, it's likely that price is going to be held from January to June again. That process has been working out really well for us. What that also helps us do is if the market changes and prices go down, we're not stuck at a higher rate. We have the flexibility to choose to make an adjustment and lower our rates. Separate from the standard program rate, there is a rate literally called a monthly variable rate on our website. And then there's 12 and 24 month fixed pricing options. A benefit of NOPEC is you can move, so you can go from the standard to the variable to standard, you can go from standard to 12 month. But once you sign up for a fixed term rate, we do require you to complete that term unless you just opt out of the program altogether. Again, no fees. So that's a lot. I've droned on. I'm going to pause, take a breath. I know you all have questions because you all have been intently moving your eyes. So who wants to go first?
I would. I was at a session for NOPEC when a question came up. This was from a mayor's meeting that I was at. They wanted, one of the mayors wanted, well, where does the money go now? What is, the rates are going up. How is that being reinvested into, I guess, the electric aggregation? We learned that we're one of 13 states involved in this grid. But, so if the rates are going up, how is that, the question was, so what do you do with the money? Okay, if the rates are going up.
Well, we're not getting your money. Tony's not taking your money and doing anything with it. That money is meant to be reinvested back into the grid and to incentivize power producers to generate more electricity. It's going to come in and go out to those generators. So I don't have it's not going to.
That was the answer.
Yeah. And the hope is, I'll use us as an example. The group of us all get together and go, we're going to build an electric plant because we think we can make money. Well, the economics have to be there for us to make that upfront investment to build this power plant, go through the regulatory process. We're not going to do that unless we know, once we flip that switch and we start generating electricity, that we're going to get our investment back. A lot of times utilities and power generators are for-profit industries. The economics have to make sense so that they make a profit. What's the question?
I want to make sure I understood one thing you just said. If we would opt for the 12-month program, and I called and they said it's around 8.5 to the end of June, you're offering that. So did you mean if we sign up for that, we are obligated for that for a year and say it would go down, can we go and our rate can go down? Are we at 8.5 for 12 months?
So your question was, and I'm just repeating it for the benefit of the recording, is if you sign up for a 12-month fixed term, kind of what happens during that process. So if you lock in your rate for 12 months and your rate will stay at 8.5 cents for that entire term. Before the end of the term, we send you a letter saying, hey, your term is coming up. If you don't do anything, if you don't call us, you're going to default to the standard rate program, and that price is this. Or you can call us and say, I'd like to sign up for another 12-month rate. You're given a window to kind of look and say, well, what rate is my best option now? It's been a year, because the standard program rate may be lower than another 12-month block. You stay in that 12-month price until that term ends, or unless you just say, I'm just leaving NOPEC completely. And for the standard program rate, think of it as a fixed rate, just for 6 months kind of thing.
That's what we refer to when we say that rate is locked in through December of 2025. Even though the language behind it is a little fancier, a little more complicated, we want people to know that if they do decide to go with the city's aggregation program, we get that standard program price from NOPEC. That's our rate.
Right.
And it will be locked in through December of 2025.
Right, so if you lock in, you're gonna be, say you lock now, you're locked till June of 26.
Correct.
So there would be no reason for you to keep checking to see if it's going, up or down.
Not during that
Because you
12
won't be able to change.
Yeah, not during that 12-month period.
Unless you'd like to leave NOPEC altogether.
Yeah, unless you just decide to leave altogether.
So you would be really, in the long run, better to go for 12 months rather than 24 months, which is 9.0, I believe, right now.
It currently is, yes, and like I said,
Because
those,
you're tied up for 24 months, right?
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
yes, and so it depends on, I always use this example, it depends on the kind of shopper you are, in terms of, are you just somebody who goes, this just makes my front forehead hurt, I'm just picking this option, I'm just not gonna think about this until I have to. Or are you somebody who goes, I actually look at this pretty regularly, there may be another option that's better for you. That's why we provide a variety of options, because 12 months may work for you, but somebody else may go, I'm just doing the 24 months because I don't have to think about this. And also think of it this way. We tend to look at these numbers almost like, I use the example of going to the gas station. You're going to visit your sister in 2 towns over, and you're going to pass 3 gas stations. Do you gamble that the 3rd gas station will have the best price, or do you just stop at the first one, and then you just get angry when you see the middle one because it was 5 cents less? Think of it in this way. These are also tenths of a penny. So when you think about 8.9 versus 9.0, the difference is almost not noticeable. Really what it comes down to is, and I hear this all the time, my bill went up, I'm so angry, and then I sit down with someone and look at their bill, and it turned out they used twice as much electricity in the last month than they did the previous month. But we don't think about it that way. We just, well, I don't know if anybody sits down with a checkbook anymore, but I know mine's auto pay now, but we don't look at that bill anymore and go, oh my goodness, well, we started using our air conditioner, we started doing this thing. And so those are always things I tell people, just make sure you keep an eye also on your usage. Yes?
I'm a resident, obviously, and I received my letter. You know what? I don't want to do anything. So, well, how does that go for me? I'll be in the standard,
Right.
and I'm just going to let the flow go with NOPEC and the city.
Correct. So if you didn't do anything, you're automatically enrolled on the standard program rate. I also encourage you, though, we update our rates as needed on our website. We will not send you, and we do not send letters every time rates change, because we're a council of governments. We're not permitted to directly solicit to you. So a question is, well, if the rates change, am I gonna get another letter? No. You have to check our website or check the city's website. It's my responsibility to keep them informed of those changes. But you can also visit NOPEC.org and sign up for our monthly newsletter. We do share that information through there when those kind of changes happen. Once you say to us, yes, I want to receive communications from you, then we can talk back and forth with you. But we have very kind of restrictive rules in terms of we're just not permitted to solicit. I will also take this as an opportunity to note, we do not door knock either. And what happens is because we're Ohio's largest not-for-profit energy supplier, there are a lot of people who pretend to be us, and they will come to your door and pressure you or pretend that they're from NOPEC. I don't care who they are, never ever share any utility bill with anybody who comes to your door. And if somebody does come to your door, let the city know, because it's likely the city has its own kind of solicitation rules, and they can get, I would assume, an officer out there to educate that person, because you don't want a senior neighbor to get taken advantage of by something like this. We do not door knock. You will see our commercials on TV and hear them on the radio to excess at different times of the year, so I apologize for that.
And I can speak to the solicitation side of things. The city does require solicitors to obtain a permit from us in order to be able to go door to door. And that allows us to vet that they're a legitimate business, that they're sending qualified people. And yes, if they should have an ID for their own company. Just as a heads up, the city does not solicit door to door for any of our aggregation programs. So if anyone comes to you claiming to be from the city, an easy way to check, obviously you can contact us at City Hall to vet that person. You can ask to see some kind of identification. If they work with the city, they'll have a city ID. If they work for another company, they should be able to produce that identification. But as a general rule, we always advise people to be careful of those who come to your door trying to sell you something. Do not feel obligated to let them into the home. Do not feel like you have to share any information with them. If they are talking to you about something you're interested in, we would recommend doing your own research on your own time outside of the pressure of that solicitation, so that you can make an informed decision without being pressured by someone on your front porch.
That is correct, and I'll tell you why. About a week ago, the building inspector came to our house from North Canton. He came to the door, and I said, "Do you have an ID?" Because I was not going to let him in.
Absolutely.
And he did show me one of those, an ID from here. And he looked kind of shocked when I said, "I need an ID because you're not going to check anything without seeing an ID."
It's always good to ask, and if there's ever any questions, well,
Because I don't know if people asking that, but I did.
yeah,
I will.
It's a good question to ask, and you can also check with City Hall if you're unsure as to why someone's at your door, but the ID is a good place to start. Yeah, circling back, Tony, did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on before we move forward?
Did you have any other questions?
Just have one more.
Yeah.
Can you give us a few pointers on how we can conserve our energy going forward in our homes or in our businesses?
So there's a lot you can do. On the sheet that you got that talks about the PJM capacity, there are some tips at the bottom. NOPEC has a tip house on our website that kind of takes you room by room through your home. There's kind of just a lot of things that we never think about. I'll tell you one thing that I use at my own home. If you're like me, I like lights around the house at night. Just kind of, it's a good deterrent. But I put in dusk to dawn light bulbs, so when they kind of come on automatically and they turn off. But they're also LED lights, which have changed dramatically since years ago. They're not so institutional. You can actually get softer lights. But that's an option too, maybe just going through your home and changing light bulbs. Setting your thermostat to one number and leaving it there. And I'll tell you, I'm guilty. I was doing the up and down game today all day. This was humid, doesn't matter. But just thinking about, are there things in your home that are plugged in that you're not actively using that just don't need to be plugged in? I'll be honest, I do not unplug my DVD player, so I know I'm not there, but I know it's using electricity. But they're just kind of some simple things. If you've got, I grew up in a household that if I left the light on in a room that I wasn't in, I got yelled at. So Yelling tends to help motivate other relatives, I think. But if you've got kids, that I know that can be hard. So just kind of washing your laundry on hold, just changing some lifestyle habits will help reduce your electricity. But I don't want to minimize kind of the experience that you're going to have when you get that first bill in July for your June usage. We're all going to experience some pain when we look at that first bill. You've got to be kidding me. But what I can tell you though is being part of this bigger group, you're in a much better position than others who aren't part of a group like this. But you also have the flexibility that if you want to go out on your own, do that, but also just know if it doesn't work out, we're going to be here to welcome you back and provide a high level of service to you. I encourage you, if you ever have questions, call our customer care number. We answer 24/7. People call us on Christmas Day. And I go, why would somebody do it? And I'm always reminded people, not everybody celebrates Christmas, so I get it. And that might be a good day to conduct business. But we answer. And our office is just in Solon, and I'm your dedicated rep. If you go to, the city has direct access to me if there's ever a problem. So if you're experiencing a challenge, let the city know, and they'll call me to resolve it for you. So I'm going to sit down and let the city do some more talking.
I have one question.
Yes, I'm not
So
sitting
just, so we can go back to this opt-in and out thing that you
Yeah.
just hit upon. So in a scenario where I pick, say, the 12-month, after 3 months, I've decided that somebody else's rate's worth my investigation to go to. Okay, so I can opt out of your aggregate and go with Joe Schmo's utility, and say 3 months later, their rates change to the point where I don't like it again. So I go back and I look and I want to rejoin yours. So I can just rejoin yours and go back into a 12-month again and just continue in and out like that all the time?
Yes, if you have that much time on your hands and you want to do all that, yes, you can. And you won't pay any fees.
Okay.
Again, we're a service-driven organization. Yes, you can do that. I mean, that'll be up to you if you choose to.
Yeah, I was going to encourage you, I'm just saying.
Yeah, yes, yep, you can do that.
Tony,
Yes.
so anything, even if we were to stay with NOPEC, and we go maybe 12 months or 24 months, or we do that variable program that is mentioned in the letter, anything outside of the 8.929 rate is considered an opt-out option, is that correct? The only...
No, that would be considered, you would be opting into those other pricing options. So if you don't want to stay on the standard program rate, and you want to go to one of those other options, you'd be opting in for those options.
And in terms of your letter, if that's kind of what you're talking about, like, okay, I just say I want to join the 12-month plan instead of just going into the city's education program, I would not send in that opt-out
Yeah,
slip.
don't opt out.
I would call NOPEC directly in order to enroll in those rates, and I'll have more on that later in the presentation. But if one of those options is something you'd like to pursue, you'll need to reach out to them directly. So that opt-out letter is for if you don't want to be automatically enrolled into the city's program and you're not really looking to participate in any of the other programs either.
So
Yeah,
if
thank you for that clarification, because I think I misunderstood.
Well, I guess all I was saying was if you stay with NOPEC, but not the city's standard program, do you have to opt out?
No, you would just call us and say, I live in North Canton, I'm on the standard program rate, I'd like to sign up for the 12-month rate.
Okay.
And then we do all that over the phone.
And you don't have to opt out?
No.
Okay.
No, if, by not opting out, you have all of the available choices inside the program.
Okay. Now that variable price, that is 6% for residential, right? 6% less than the price to compare?
Right.
Is only offered to a certain percentage of customers. It may be limited. What about that?
So what she's asking about is our monthly variable rate has a cap of 2.5% for our entire customer base that can participate in that. I can tell you we've never gotten close to filling that. The monthly variable, because it follows the PTC, and again, that looks attractive this month, it won't be starting in June. We've never gotten to that point. If you were to call and they go, nope, we hit the max, I would be very surprised. But then at that point, we would try to maybe steer you towards a 12 or 24 month fixed pricing option. But in the entire time I've been with NOPEC, we've never hit that number.
So that variable option is just not good because it's variable?
Well, because it's going to follow the utilities price to compare. And so if they go to 12 cents and I'm 6% less than that, I'm still going to be above what my standard program rate is. And again, the utilities PTC can change each month. And so one of the things about NOPEC is one of our primary goals is to take your utility bill from doing this and make it more consistent.
It's less reactive.
Right, and we focus on savings over a long period of time, so over the course of a year versus kind of, what can you do for me this month? What can you do for me next month? Again, to go back to the gas station example, we've all gone to work in the morning, oh, I should have stopped, because when we left that evening, it's changed. And so all of these dynamics are subject to the market. I'm surprised somebody asked me a terrible question. Thank you for not asking. Because I just can't answer, because we're still trying to understand how those impacts will be. But that's another dynamic in the market that we also have to be sensitive to. Most of our electricity is generated by the use of natural gas. Natural gas prices are staying up. So there's a lot of factors in that market. But we're doing all of that stuff for you so that you can focus on other stuff. We're just trying to take one small thing that affects your daily life and make it a little bit easier to deal with. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Those were good questions.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So then circling back to kind of the different options that we were discussing, what options does our community have for electricity supply? And there's kind of 4 categories that Tony's touched on briefly. I'm going to go over again just for the benefit of our viewers and to make sure we kind of clarified everything. The first option would be the city's electric aggregation program. If you receive that NOPEC opt-out letter, that is your confirmation that you're on NOPEC's radar as someone who either has been participating in the program up till now or is otherwise newly eligible and may want to participate. So if you receive that letter and you want to join the program or remain enrolled, you don't have to take any action to have that standard rate of 8.929 cents applied. Because you'll be automatically enrolled or continued after the May 7th opt-out deadline. Now, if you do choose to opt out and you receive that letter, all you have to do is follow the instructions on the letter to return that opt-out slip to NOPEC postmarked by May 7th. As Tony kind of discussed, you're allowed to kind of opt in and opt out of the program. You know,
I would also mention, you can also opt out over the phone and online. So you have and the letter details that you have options too. Because people always complain, why do I have to send in a stamp when you're trying to sign me up for something? You can call and opt out.
and see, that's new information for us because previous suppliers, we have had to return it via mail. Different options, I'd say the more you can use, the better in terms of being able to reach people. But that opt-out deadline of May 7th would be the same. So if you do choose to use standard mail, you'd want to have it postmarked by May 7th, and in order to have that take effect. The second kind of category of energy option would be the other NOPEC exclusive supply options that were mentioned. Those include the 12 and 24 month fixed rate programs. You can view all of those options on NOPEC's website at nopec.org/check-rates. They'll have them all laid out for you there, including the standard program price, that's the city's aggregation rate. And if you do decide to go with another rate rather than the city's aggregation program, you'll want to reach out to NOPEC directly via phone. I would not recommend returning an opt-out slip. It's going to be much easier to just reach out to them and say that you're a member of the North Canton community, that you would like to participate in this other rate, and they will be able to walk you through step by step. So they're really the ones best qualified to kind of help you through that. Now, your third kind of category of option would be going out on your own into the energy market and finding your own individual supplier, which, if that is an option that works best for you, you're more than welcome to do so. If you are considering that, you can use the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio's PUCO Apples to Apples tool. It's on their website at energychoice.ohio.gov. An easier way would probably be just to go to Google and type in PUCO Apples to Apples, and it should come up pretty quickly. We would recommend, though, as Tony kind of touched on, if you do go looking for an individual rate, you're going to want to watch out for those introductory rates that are variable. It may start out low, but then next month it's a lot higher. Or programs with early termination fees, to where the rate looks good now, but maybe down the road you want to make a change. Are they going to charge you a termination fee to exit and go to someone else? The city's programs don't do that, NOPEC's programs don't do that, but some do. And then finally, if you don't choose any other energy supply option, you would go to the default utility standard offer. So that's that AEP SSO rate that I was discussing earlier. That's just in terms of electricity, their variable electric supply rate for those who didn't choose any other supply option. So if you don't participate in the aggregation program, you don't go find your own contract, you don't choose any of the other NOPEC options, that's what you would be charged if you did nothing else. And we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's a question we've received quite a bit in our office, is why have prices increased so significantly over the past few years? And we've had some serious market changes since the city's previous rate was locked in 2021. That previous rate was 4.34 cents per kilowatt hour, and as we've discussed, we're now at 8.929. So that's over double, unfortunately, but it's something that's not unique to our community. And it's something that's not even unique to our state. As Tony alluded to, electricity prices are rising nationwide due to a variety of factors, and you've probably heard of some of them. Inflation, increased demand, and even higher costs for the fossil fuels that are used to generate electricity that then goes to our homes. Even extreme weather patterns and their impact on the energy grid have all kind of played a role in driving these prices up over time. Now, we can say that the city's new rate of 8.929 cents is expected to remain competitive through that 6-month term where it will be locked in, after which time they'll be renegotiating and seeing what a new rate might be able to bring to the community. In comparison, AEP's SSO rate, that default rate that we discussed on the previous slide, that's expected to increase to between 9.2 and 10.2 cents per kilowatt hour over the next 6 months. So again, we do see some value in the rate that we are offering to the community, but as we've mentioned, you're more than welcome to look at other options and see whatever works best for you. Now, in terms of the billing and service breakdown, Tony touched on this as well a little bit. I just wanted to add kind of a fancy graphic to break it down a little further. Our energy service is kind of broken down into two parts, the energy supplier and the utility company. And while a single company can fulfill both of those roles, they are two separate roles and they have two separate purposes in helping to deliver your energy service. So in terms of the city's electric aggregation program, our energy supplier would be NOPEC/NextEra. They secure our energy supply and they negotiate the rate that our customers pay for that energy. AEP Ohio, the utility company, distributes and delivers that energy to our customers. They maintain the energy infrastructure, so the power lines, the telephone poles, that sort of thing. And they send bills to customers. So together, those two roles help bring you your energy service. In terms of the city's aggregation program, our participants are still going to receive their bills from AEP like always, with no service disruptions when you switch to the city's aggregation program or if you switch to another supplier. And that's because you're changing your energy supplier, not your utility company. So the billing side of things would not be affected beyond the different rate that you receive from that supplier. AEP will continue to deliver your power, read your meters, and handle any outages that might crop up. I know we're coming into storm season as we've kind of seen a little bit of tonight, so hopefully we don't have many of those outages to deal with, but they will be the ones to handle it if that happens.
Jennifer, Say that again, if your lights go out, who do our people call?
Yes, yes.
Besides the police department, and city hall.
Yes, so if there's a power outage, AEP will be the one you want to reach out to and report that to. Unfortunately, on our end, the city, we don't have too much we can do to be able to help restore the power any faster. We can't direct AEP in their response efforts. And we would encourage you to only call into the police department, whether it's the emergency line or otherwise, if there is an emergency or if you have something that the police department can assist with, whether that's down lines on the road, causing an immediate hazard, or limbs from trees, that kind of things, traffic accidents. We want to leave those emergency lines open for those true emergencies when we can. So AEP will definitely be your resource over the phone and online to keep track of that outage if and when it happens.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so just to kind of recap a little of what we've gone over tonight, the initial aggregation opt-out deadline is May 7th for the city's program. And when we say that, that's the automatic enrollment deadline. So if you don't want to participate at all, you don't want any of the other NOPEC rates, when you receive that NOPEC opt-out letter, you have to return that slip postmarked or reach out in one of the other ways that Tony has described that should be listed on your letter. They'll give you the detailed instructions as to how to make that happen. I will say you must have received a NOPEC opt-out letter in order to be eligible to automatically enroll or be continued on the city's program. So if you didn't receive a letter and you want to either enroll or you thought you were previously participating and you're not sure what's going on, why you didn't receive a letter, that's when we would recommend reaching out to NOPEC's customer care line directly to speak to them. They handle all of the eligibility, the enrollment on their end, and the account management as well. So they'll be the ones best equipped to help you. Now, our program.
If I could just add one thing. There's a variety of reasons why someone may not have received a letter. They could be already currently in a contract with another supplier and don't show up, or they've put themselves on something that's called a do not aggregate list, which means you don't get those mailings. So to her point, if you didn't get a letter and you're unsure why, just call us, we can troubleshoot that for you.
They're the best ones to reach out to. The city isn't the one that mails out the letters, so we've had people contact us asking if they can be sent a letter, and unfortunately that's not something we have on our end. That's what when we turn to NOPEC and ask them to assist and kind of help that resident go through their options. Circling back in terms of our rates, if you are going to be automatically enrolled into the program, what that's going to look like is that you'll be transferred to AEP Ohio's SSO rate. We've been told that will be 8.14 cents per kilowatt hours just for the May 2025 meter read. And then you will be rolled into NOPEC's new rate for our program. That's going to stay locked in at 8.929 cents per kilowatt hour from the June through December 2025 meter reads. And I do want to address a bit of a miscommunication that was in those opt-out letters due to a AEP notification requirement that requires us to send out a minimum 3-month term notice. Your opt-out letters made it seem as if our term was only going to be locked in for 3 months until September 2025, rather than to the correct December 2025. So we can confirm both NOPEC and the city, and I've taken this all the way to the top just to be sure and make sure we're passing along the right information. That rate will remain locked in at 8.929 through the December 2025 meter read. And again, as we've stressed, participation in the city's aggregation programs is entirely optional. We always encourage you to go and look for options that work best for you. If that's not us, then so be it. We just want to make sure that you're aware of your options and that this program is available for anyone who might want to take advantage. And a few more resources before I open it up for last, final questions from the audience. The city does have more electric aggregation program information and some more frequently asked questions on our website at northcantonohio.gov/electric aggregation. In terms of NOPEC's end of things, for program eligibility, enrollment, or account management questions, you're definitely going to want to reach out to NOPEC at their customer care line. If you want to look at those other NOPEC customer exclusive rates that they offer, the 12 and 24-month fixed rate options, you can do that on their website at nopec.org/check rates. And then if you do want to look at your own individual supply options, you can use the Hugo Apples to Apples tool on their website at energychoice.ohio.gov. Frankly, I would just recommend Googling it. That's a very long link to try to remember, but it is there and it can be helpful in looking at your different options. So at this time, if there's anything else that anyone would like to ask, we can open it up for final questions.
I would just like to